Bonjour mes amis, je m'appelle Tito, je fais des vidéos sur les finances personnelles sur mon autre chaîne, mais sur cette chaîne je parle d'autres choses, comme aujourd'hui où je vais revoir le film Unforgivable. When an arrogant, womanizing investment banker has a rape charge leveled against him and is arraigned in court, he rejects legal representation and help from his father and chooses to represent himself to fight the spurious charges. Unforgivable is the debut cinema feature film from writer-director Osezuah Elimihe. Now, this review most likely will contain spoilers. I don't plan on dropping spoilers, but because this movie was so long and for me to really get into what worked and what didn't work in this film, I may end up releasing or mentioning or talking about spoilers of the film, or in the film rather. So if you plan on seeing Unforgivable, in spite of what I say, please go and see the film first before watching this review. That said, let's talk about les représentations dans le film. Timini Egbuson plays Edafe Iwiwu, a young banker who is also a serious womanizer, and he's accused of rape in this movie, and he chooses to represent himself in court. As far as Timini's performance goes, what I will say is that I've never seen a film where Timini had so many lines of dialogue and monologue. Because the character Edafe chooses to represent himself in court, there's lots of talking in court. It's almost like a courtroom drama, and this film features a lot of Timini in the movie, so we get to see him a lot and we get to hear from him a lot in the film. Now, the problem, or why it's hard actually to evaluate Timini's performance in this film, is because the character was quite poorly written and poorly developed. You see, like I said, Edafe he's an investment banker, I do believe, and he's a rich kid, he's a bad boy, and he's arraigned in court, and he refuses to have legal representation. He chooses to represent himself in this case. Okay, that kind of makes sense, but it's hard to be convinced by the character and the acting when they don't explain why this guy thought it would be a good idea for him to represent himself in court. Because in the film, nowhere is it said that this guy read law or was, top of his class in law school or something like that. It's just, which now made it very hard to believe that this guy would successfully, represent himself in court. So that was just a challenge, and that is early on in the film. So, when you have that kind of hurdle, your mind finds it hard to accept or believe the character. It now makes it hard to even assess the acting of the actor who is playing the character. Nancy Isime plays Regina Ipaye, the girlfriend of Timini's character, and incidentally the one who accuses him of rape. And Nancy appears a lot less in this film than I thought she would. She's not as prominent as I thought she'd be. She doesn't have that many lines, even though she plays a huge role in the story, essentially. Her performance, I will say that I haven't seen Nancy play this kind of character before, like a victim, but at the same time, I don't know, there wasn't much heavy lifting, and the character just wasn't enjoyable, if you ask me, for a variety of reasons, some of which I've just mentioned. Theo Lawson, the architect and cultural entrepreneur, Theo Lawson, was in this film. He's not an actor. If any of you go to Freedom Park frequently, especially if you've been doing so for the past, 10 to 15 years, you probably know who Theo Lawson is. He's a great advocate of the arts, social and cultural enterprise, stage and music, lots of the things that go on in at Freedom Park, at Onikon. He's involved with them. So that's how I know Theo Lawson. But incidentally, he's in this film. He plays Chief Iwiwu, who is the father of Timini's character. I was surprised when I saw Theo Lawson's name in the opening credits. I assume he was in the movie because he's friends with, the people who made this film. Coming to his acting, though, let me just say that Theo Lawson shouldn't quit his day job as an architect or a cultural entrepreneur. He should stick to that. I don't think it was a good idea for him to act in this film, if you can call that acting. I mean, it wasn't fantastic acting. The character itself, Chief Iwiwu, he didn't need to be in the film because I don't think the character is seen with his son at any point in this 2.5-hour film. And, especially seeing, which is weird, seeing that his son is being arraigned in court for rape. At no point does he go to court. At no point do they have dialogue as if father, son. They're not on screen together at any point in time. So, I mean, it feels like maybe Chief Yu was some kind of an afterthought. And like I said, maybe Theo Lawson was cast because, his friend wanted him to be in the film. This is an assumption, but I won't be surprised if it's true. So yeah, I think Theo Lawson is a fantastic. I mean, we love him in the media, entertainment, cultural space, particularly here in Lagos. But I'm not sure if he should do anything other than cameos in movies. Osasu Esemuede, she plays Ife in this movie, and she's the cousin to Timini's character. And let's say that they're cousins with serious benefits. They're incestuous cousins, and that was a bit weird. Her acting in the film was, as far as this film goes, her acting was okay, just okay. But if I were to rate her based on like better made films, bigger budget Nollywood films, I wouldn't say the acting was anything to write home about. But surprisingly, she does have potential. Her desire and her passion to do a good job kind of, it shone through on screen. But because this film had several issues, I mean, her performance just ended up being rather average at the end of the day. But she does have potential if she's cast in a better structured, film that is more intentional, better written, better directed. I do believe she will stand out. But in this film, it was just an average performance, if you ask me. Ce que j'ai aimé. I liked that this was kind of like a courtroom drama. Lots of this film is like, it takes place in a courtroom, and we don't see films like that. Well, not many of them anyway from Nollywood. So I appreciated this film based on that. Hey guys, I have a small favor to ask of you. Please like this video by clicking on the like button, and subscribe to my channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. Feel free also to share this video with anyone who you feel will enjoy it by using the share feature just underneath the video. You doing any of these things would really help me, my channel, and this video to perform better a great deal. Thank you if you've done any of those things. I really appreciate you. You've made my day, even though you may not know it. Now let's head back to the review. Ce que je n'ai pas aimé. The terrible depiction of courtroom proceedings. That's the first thing I want to talk about. I've been to court before a couple of times, and if you've ever been to court, either as a lawyer or somebody in the legal profession or just as a normal citizen, you know that there's a way and manner that they go about things in the court system or in the legal system, even in the compound or the premises, right? There's a whole lot of respect and decorum and how you conduct yourself inside a courtroom, especially when the judge is present and presiding. So in this film, though, there wasn't that respect given to the court and to the judge. Timini's character, Edafe, was on several occasions very recalcitrant, very rude to the judge and to the other people in the courtroom, and it felt like a bit of a slap on the face to the legal system, and not intentionally by the filmmakers, but that's how it ended up looking, because I would imagine that people in the legal profession, people who read law, people who are lawyers, they would be quite pissed if they were to watch this film, because it really kind of rubbished, the esteem and the decorum and the honor and dignity that's given to law courts and to, judges. I mean, even at one point in the film, Timini calls the judge, or Edafe rather, the character calls the judge sexy or something like that. And there are just so many times that happened, and it just made it very hard for me to believe the film, when they're blatantly disrespecting the law courts and the judge. So there was that. Secondly, the acting in this film was not fantastic. Trust me. I didn't want to mention it when I was talking about the performances. The acting was not great. Not that the actors were not good. I think it's just one of those situations where the script was poor and the delivery, the production of this film it left a lot to be desired, and it made the acting look quite tacky. And I think also the direction, because the characters could have been better directed. I mean, this is a serious film about a serious topic, and then you're throwing in like slapstick comedy and characters speaking pidgin and just treating the movie like it's a comedy, and even a Nigerian comedy at that. Jokes were not landing, they weren't funny, they were out of context, they didn't have any relevance in the film. Talking about, things that were unnecessary. This film had way too many characters and way too many actors in it. This is, like I said earlier, is a 2.5-hour movie. For context, films like Endgame, Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, more recently Oppenheimer, those films are like in the 2.5-hour neighborhood. So if you're doing a film that is that long, you better make sure that your film is captivating and is powerful. So because this film is that long, there's so many unnecessary characters and so many unnecessary scenes and so much unnecessary dialogue. What else didn't work in this film? The editing was quite poor. The sound editing, oh my goodness. Sound effects, background music, out of context, just weird. Just all over the place in this film. Obscenities. There's a lot of skin in this film. It felt gratuitous, it felt unnecessary, it felt like obscenities in some cases. There's a scene where Nancy's character, Regina, she's handling a used contraceptive that had semen in it. And perhaps the filmmaker was going for shock value. But there's a difference between shock value and irritating your audience. I was more irritated than shocked by that scene where, you know, Regina was handling the condom. And I mean, I think that's also what he was going for with, you know, all the skin in the film, the shock value. But the message of the movie and the messages behind many of those scenes could have been communicated tastefully without so many obscenities. There's a fight scene in the movie, in the beginning of the movie, when the police tried to apprehend Edafe. The fight scene, choreography in that scene, laughable. I'll use that word to describe it. Laughable. This film, the storytelling, yes, this one I really want to talk about. The storytelling was quite poor. You see, in this movie, they go from present day to the past. There are lots of flashbacks in the film because, you know, in court, people are giving their account of events, and sometimes they flash back, you know, to those events. But it was difficult to know what was a flashback and what was present day. And also because there were people that were lying against the accused, Edafe, they'd show scenes that were fabrications, that were lies. They'd show scenes of Edafe, like, for example, forcing himself on a woman. But in that particular case, it was a lie. He didn't force himself on that woman. But they don't show us, you know, because typically in films where one person who is lying, you know, gives their own account, they flash to a scene of the lie, the fabrication. But when the truth is now being explained, they show a scene of what actually happened. But we don't get those scenes of what actually happened. I think the point I'm making is it was hard to tell what was present day, what was the past, and even how far back in the past it was. And also, it was hard for me, the viewer, to know what was factual, what was the truth in this film, and what was a fabrication, because we're only shown one side. We don't see the other side. So there was no balance to, you know, the actual account of events in the movie. Hence, the storytelling in this film was very, very porous, which is surprising because they had enough time to do things well. A 2.5-hour film, but yet, with all the time they had, they didn't do things the right way. They didn't dot their I's or cross their T's as far as the storytelling went, as well as, you know, with several other things. Like I said, I could be here for quite a while, but I want to wrap this up and move on. This review doesn't need to be as long as the movie was. Qui devrait le voir? If you're the kind of person who likes seeing skin in Nollywood films, whether it's warranted or unwarranted, or you like promiscuous characters in a film, then I think you will enjoy this movie. In conclusion, however, I think they should have gone with the mantra less is more with this film. This movie had no business being over 2 hours, first of all. It had no business having so many characters and actors in the film. Ended up making the film just confusing and convoluted and just crowded. And it had unnecessary obscenities in the movie. Like I said, or like I may have said earlier, I don't know if what I said earlier will make it into the cut. There's a difference between shock value and just turning your audience off. Anyway, if you enjoyed this review, guys, I really hope that you did. Please like it by clicking on the like button and subscribe to this channel as well by clicking on the black subscribe button. It's very important that you do that. Some of you watch these reviews and you don't like the video for whatever reason, or you don't subscribe to the channel. That hurts my feelings. So please subscribe to my channel and like the video as well. On this channel, I don't just do Nollywood movie reviews. There's sometimes that I do reviews of movies that I actually do enjoy, and there are other times where I talk about relationship topics, and I also do have a podcast. To check any of those things out, please click the card in the corner of the screen and you'll be directed to some of my other awesome content. Thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you've seen Unforgivable, I will forgive you for seeing the movie, but if you've seen it, please let me know in the comment section down below what you thought about the movie. Thanks for the final time, guys. I will catch you in the next one. Take care. Hey guys, in my review of Hotel La Bamba, I did say I'd be giving away this Hotel La Bamba gift bag. Now it's time to pick a winner. There were 4 correct entries in the comment section of that review. The 4 names are in here. Let me read them out to you real quick. One potential winner is Eniola Tito. Another potential winner is Olajumoke Balogun. Another potential winner is Mimi Hembaibogo. And the final potential winner is Zainab Rahim. I'm going to shake it up now and pick a winner. Now, hopefully the person who wins is based in Lagos, or at least has somebody in Lagos to receive the gift on their behalf. That's very important. If not, somebody else in this, whose name is in this container will have to go home with the prize, right? So let's pick a winner. And the winner is... Come on. Congratulations, Eniola Tito.